He's holding a mop in the middle of a federal courtroom, and in front of the entire world he says, "I will protect her." A janitor just stepped up to defend a billionaire everyone else abandoned. What you're about to watch actually happened, and it will leave you speechless. Stay until the end, because the twist that ties his past to her future, nobody saw coming. Elliot Warren stood in the middle of the courtroom, the mop still in his hand, as the entire room fell silent. "I will protect her," he said, his voice trembling with a mixture of fear and resolve. His rough fingers tightened around the mop handle as if it were the only thing keeping him upright. At the defendant's table, Ariana Lockhart, the billionaire whose own lawyer had just abandoned her, lifted her head and looked at him with utter disbelief. None of them knew that this simple moment would mark the beginning of the unraveling of one of the darkest conspiracies in American corporate history. Before we dive into this unbelievable story of justice, courage, and second chances, drop a quick comment and tell me where you're watching from right now. And if you believe that anyone, rich or poor, billionaire or janitor, deserves to be treated fairly under the law, hit that like button and subscribe. Stories about forgotten heroes like Elliot need to be heard. Now, let's go back to the moment everything changed. The autumn sunlight of New York filtered through the tall windows of the Manhattan Federal Courthouse, casting golden streaks across the marble floor that Elliot Warren had just finished cleaning. 5 in the morning, just like every day for the past 15 years, he was already here. A 45-year-old man with brown hair starting to turn gray, deep brown eyes, dressed in a Navy maintenance uniform with the word maintenance embroidered on the chest pocket. His tiny apartment in Queens was still pitch black when he left at 4 a.m. The place had only a single bed, a small stove, and one bare wall with just 2 photos, his wedding picture with Sarah, taken 17 years ago before cancer stole her, and beside it, their daughter Mia, now 20 and in her final year of college, though in the frame she was still 5, smiling bright in her mother's arms. Elliot never turned on the lights when he left. Winter electricity bills were brutal, and with a salary of $2,800 a month, every penny counted. Breakfast was black coffee, toast, and whatever food he could pack from the courthouse basement cafeteria, a small perk for maintenance staff. That morning, as he pushed his cleaning cart down the third-floor hallway, Elliot paused in front of courtroom 302, the room reserved for the biggest cases. And today, one of the most watched legal battles in New York history was about to begin, the lawsuit against Ariana Lockhart, the tech billionaire worth $14 billion. He didn't need the news to know about the case. He didn't even own a TV. He knew because, for years, he had cleaned that very courtroom at night and overheard the polished lawyers talking when they thought no one was listening. To them, the janitor was invisible, just part of the furniture. But Elliot hadn't always been invisible. 15 years ago, he was one of the rising stars at Whitfield & Associates, a top Manhattan law firm. Corner office overlooking Central Park, never lost a major case, a brilliant future ahead, until everything came crashing down. He pushed the memory away. That life was gone. Now he mopped floors, polished benches, emptied trash, an honest job that paid rent and let him send a few dollars to Mia every month, even though she always tried to send it back. As he turned to leave the courtroom, his phone buzzed. A text from his supervisor. "Warren, room 302 needs to be cleaned again. VIP today." Elliot sighed. VIP meant pressure, inspections, and getting yelled at for the tiniest mistake. But, as always, he didn't complain. By 9 a.m., the courtroom was packed. Reporters, lawyers, clicking keyboards everywhere. At the defense table sat Ariana Lockhart, alone. 38 years old, but looking like she carried the weight of the world. Her sharp blue eyes clouded with exhaustion, perfect Armani suit, yet her shoulders slightly hunched, hands clasped tight. Next to her, 6 empty chairs, seats reserved for her legal team from Preston, Holloway and Schmidt, the most expensive firm in New York, $6,000 an hour. They never showed up. Elliot glanced at the clock, 9:15. Trial starts in 15 minutes. Ariana kept calling, and every time she set the phone down, her face grew paler. Elliot knew they had abandoned her. "All rise," Judge Caroline Fisk entered, stern and experienced. She paused, eyes landing on the empty chairs. Miss Lockhart, where is your legal team? Ariana stood, voice shaking. I don't know, Your Honor. They were here yesterday. I've tried reaching them all morning, no answer. Prosecutor Catherine Morris rose with a thin, triumphant smile. Your Honor, the defense has been abandoned. We move for default judgment. The room erupted in whispers. Reporters typed like crazy. Judge Fisk sighed. If you have no representation, the court cannot delay indefinitely. I am forced to. I will protect her. A warm, deep voice cut through the chaos like thunder. Every head turned. Elliot Warren stood beside his cleaning cart, mop still in hand, graying hair catching the light, face burning with determination. Soft chuckles broke out, then louder laughs, but he didn't move. He set the mop down, walked up the aisle, posture straight, the posture of a lawyer who once owned this room. Judge Fisk raised an eyebrow. Who are you? My name is Elliot Warren, Your Honor. I would like to represent Miss Lockhart. Catherine Morris laughed out loud. A janitor wants to play lawyer? Elliot looked her dead in the eye. I was a member of the New York bar for 18 years. Gasps and whispers exploded. He pulled a worn wallet, took out his old bar license, still valid. The judge examined it, face paling slightly. Mr. Warren, how long since you last practiced? 15 years, Your Honor. The air grew heavy. And you believe you are still competent? Your Honor, this woman deserves a defense. I know the law. I know procedure. And I know what justice actually means. Ariana stood, looked into his eyes, saw no greed, no fame chasing, only honesty. Yes, Your Honor, she said. I accept, Mr. Warren. The courtroom went wild. Judge Fisk rubbed her temples. You have 15 minutes to confer with your client. Do not delay these proceedings. Security tried to block Elliot. Only attorneys passed this point. Elliot held up his bar card. The judge nodded. The guard stepped aside, embarrassed. Elliot sat beside Ariana, every eye on them. He leaned in and whispered, Something is very wrong here. This isn't just your lawyers quitting. This is orchestrated. Ariana whispered back. How do you know? Because I've watched thousands of cases from the shadows for 15 years. This one, it doesn't feel natural. 15 minutes flew by. Ariana poured out 3 months of preparation in emergency speed, her quantum processor that works at room temperature, a breakthrough that could change computing, medicine, energy, everything. Nexus Innovations accusing her of stealing their tech. Stock crashing. Partners vanishing. Elliot listened without taking a single note, absorbing every pause, every tremble in her voice, reading her like only a great lawyer can. Time's up. Judge Fisk struck the gavel. Mr. Warren, your opening statement. Elliot rose, heart pounding, walked to the podium, felt every stare, some mocking, some curious. He placed his calloused hand on the wood, took a breath, and looked straight at the jury. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Elliot Warren. First, I apologize for my appearance. I'm not wearing a $10,000 suit like my colleague across the aisle. I don't have a corner office or a team of assistants. Less than 1 hour ago, I was still mopping this floor. Soft laughter rippled. Elliot didn't flinch. But for 15 years I have stood in this room every single day watching justice happen, and sometimes watching justice get buried. I learned one thing: justice does not care about the price of your suit. It only cares about the truth. And the truth here is simple: Ariana Lockhart stole nothing. She created revolutionary technology with her own mind, sweat, and talent. While those who want to steal it are using this court as a weapon. Objection. Sustained. Elliot nodded. I'll let the evidence speak. But I promise you this: by the end, you will know exactly who is telling the truth, and who is lying. He sat down. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't perfect. But a few jurors nodded quietly, because it was real. The prosecution's opening was smooth, sharp, confident. Ariana Lockhart is a thief. Full stop. The morning blurred into cross-examinations. When Elliot stood for his first cross in 15 years, his legs felt like jelly, but the moment he opened his mouth, the old fire came back. Questions flowed, contradictions appeared, timelines fell apart. By the end of the day, even Judge Fisk looked at him differently. "Mr. Warren, you might want a proper suit tomorrow." Elliot smiled weakly. "I'll see what I can do, Your Honor." In the hallway, Ariana caught up to him. "Thank you," she said, voice breaking. "I don't know why you're doing this, but thank you." "Don't thank me yet. We need every document, every email, every schematic." "Meet me tonight?" "I can't," Elliot said calmly. "I have my night janitor shift." Ariana blinked. "But you're my lawyer now. And I'm also a janitor who has rent to pay. This case is pro bono, Miss Lockhart. That means free. So I still have to work." For the first time, Ariana felt the real gap between their worlds. "I'll pay you whatever you want." "No," Elliot said firmly. "If this was about money, I wouldn't have stood up today. I'm doing this because it's right. But I'll come after my shift. Midnight okay?" "Midnight is perfect." Midnight. Elliot parked his beat-up Toyota at the gates of Ariana's mansion, still wearing his janitor uniform, sweat stains and all. Security escorted him like he might steal the silver. Ariana waited in her home office, jacket off, exhausted. "Coffee?" He nodded. She poured from a machine that cost more than his monthly salary. He took one sip and almost smiled. It tasted like another life. "Tell me the real story," he said. "Not the polished version. The truth." Ariana talked for hours. 12 years ago, fresh out of MIT, told room temperature quantum computing was impossible. She proved the world wrong working alone in a tiny apartment on ramen and hope. She opened a safe, handed him a thin folder. "My original research notes, dated, notarized, proof I created this years before Nexus even existed." Elliot's jaw tightened. "Your old lawyers never used this. They said it wasn't necessary. That wasn't strategy," he said coldly. "That was sabotage. Someone paid them to lose." They worked until 3 a.m., digging through emails, memos, schematics. The pattern was clear, evidence ignored, witnesses never called, objections thrown at the worst moments. Deliberate self-destruction. "One more thing," Elliot said at dawn. "Tomorrow in court, no matter what I say or do, don't react. Trust me." The next day Elliot walked in wearing a $20 thrift store suit, pressed as best he could. The courtroom was packed again. The janitor lawyer story had gone viral overnight. When the prosecution called their star witness, Dr. Puan Leonard Bryce, the man who claimed he invented the core technology, Elliot waited calmly. Then, quietly, he destroyed him. Step by step, document by document, he proved the doctor wasn't even employed when the algorithms were created, and had received a $300,000 consulting fee from Nexus 2 weeks earlier. The courtroom exploded. For the first time, Catherine Morris looked scared. That night Elliot's daughter Mia, 20, brilliant, fearless, started digging corporate records. What she found froze all three of them. Nexus Innovations was a shell, inside a shell, inside a shell, owned by Atlantic Energy Corporation, the same company that destroyed Elliot's life 15 years ago. And Ariana's technology? It didn't just threaten computing. It could make oil, coal, and gas obsolete in 20 years. Trillions of dollars on the line. That's why they didn't buy her out. They needed to erase her. Threats came fast. Elliot's apartment trashed, Mia's laptop hacked. A black SUV tried to run Ariana off the road. They moved into Ariana's guest house for safety. Days turned into a war. Then, at 2 a.m., Ariana's former assistant Julia showed up shaking, crying, holding the CEO of Nexus's phone. Everything was on it: bribes, threats, plans for a permanent solution if the trial failed. Meaning murder. They copied the data. Julia fled to Canada. 6 hours later, armed mercenaries stormed the estate. Gunfire, explosives, a desperate lockdown in the panic room. Just when the charge on the door was about to blow, an army of FBI and SWAT rolled in. They had been watching. Julia had made it to the border and talked. Within hours, arrests swept the city, CEOs, executives hired guns. The case collapsed. Charges dismissed. Ariana walked free. 2 months later, a new sign went up on Fifth Avenue: Warren and Warren Law, Civil Rights and Justice for the Powerless. Mia started law school. Ariana created a $15 million legal fund in their name. And one quiet afternoon in the empty new office, Ariana looked at Elliot and said, "I found the person who sees me, not my money, not my name, just me." Elliot, who thought love had died with his wife 15 years ago, took her hand. "Maybe we get more than one chance, if we're brave enough to take it." They kissed, slow, gentle, real, while Mia pretended to search for champagne glasses in the next room and smiled. Elliot Warren's story proves it is never too late to stand up. That justice sometimes wears a janitor's uniform. That one person with courage can bring empires to their knees. And that even after the worst losses, love, purpose, and hope can find you again. So tell me in the comments, if you were Elliot, would you choose the safe corporate job with the big salary, or the hard road defending people who have no one else? Drop your answer below, hit like if this moved you, and subscribe because the next story of an ordinary person doing something extraordinary is coming soon. Thank you for watching. Never give up. Never stop fighting. And never, ever underestimate the power of one good person who decides, "I will protect her."